And Chuck Wallach has just made his appearance, so that must be time to start the August 2021 meeting of the Environment and Land Use Committee. I am calling the meeting to order. What we do here is we go around the table. The folks out there do not need to say who they are just yet, and introduce ourselves. I'm George Brandt, the chairman of the Environment and Land Use Committee representing District 6 of the County Board.
I'm Beth Killian, supervisor for District 7, and I'm the secretary of the committee.
I'm Kellen Nelson. I am vice chair of the committee and supervisor District 14.
Tony Munson, I represent the Towns Association.
Rich Glenn, I'm County Board Supervisor, District 16.
Chuck Wallach, County Board Supervisor, District 11.
Randy Severson, a livestock producer member of the committee.
And the staff is going to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Haley Passo. I'm the new Conservation Engineering Specialist.
Chuck Zauner, County Conservationist.
Verge Gamrath, Department of Land Management. I record the minutes for the meeting.
Mark Carlson, Interim Director, Department of Land Management.
Well, we're going to stay with Mark for a while, who's going to introduce our new staff.
That's the newest employee would be Haley, and she can give you her background.
Sure. So I'm Haley. I took over for Tessa's position. I came from a planning and zoning department up in Chippewa County. I was there for about 4.5 years, so I have a good grasp on zoning. I'm new to the land conservation aspect of it, but I'm ready to jump in. This is my third week in here, so still figuring it out. I have a geology background with a hydrogeology emphasis from, that's bachelor's from Eau Claire, sorry. And then I have a master's in environmental engineering. So I am excited to be here, and I'll be in the learning curve for a little bit, but we will get it figured out from there.
Haley, why don't you tell us what you're working on now?
Yeah, so currently I am working on 3 different projects that we're working on in the department. So a couple of them are the stream bank restoration projects. I'm looking into also the education and information sessions for upcoming like webinars and stuff like that. And then what else do I have? Oh, I'm working on getting like the bid sheets all prepared, making sure that they're consistent, and we want to make sure that the department has a consistency with how we're proceeding. So that's my big thing, is consistency is key in my brain, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and moving forward at the same rate and going from there. So
thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
I would like to add she's doing an excellent job so far, and I know it's been a kind of a tough thing to fit in, and she's doing very well with that.
Thank you, Mr. County Conservationist Chuck Zauner, who was introduced last month when I wasn't here. So, the open meeting law requirements have been met by proper posting and notifications. We have an 18-item amended agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
By Scoyen, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Wallach. Staff, anything that needs to be addressed in the agenda at all? Okay. Chuck has something.
I put in your packets the 4-question, what we're going to be reviewing for the land and water management plan. I will be reviewing that in September, but I encourage you to read it and edit it, and this is kind of the direction that the Land Conservation Department is going to be going in the next 5 years. So it's relatively important, but I'll be doing a presentation next month on it, but I gave it to you a month ahead so that you have time to look it over and see what any changes that you would like to make.
And Chuck has assured me that he and I will be going in person to Madison, which apparently is a big deal for him. So, yes, Beth.
My question was, are we on the list to be approved?
No, this is, you're talking about this, the CREP.
No, I'm talking about the plan.
Yes, we are scheduled for October.
Of this year?
October, we have a date.
Yes, since I started late, it was supposed to be in August, but it got moved to October, and I'm trying to get ahead of this, and that's why I'm, giving you guys the questions, and there's a couple other steps that I'm working with my staff. Our staff looked over this already, but I'm just trying to get as much input as I possibly can at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
So is this what Gaylord and Mark and I started or
Right.
whatever, then Chuck will take
Right.
complete over now? Okay.
Okay, so that's a note about what's inside the packets. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is approved. The minutes from the July 7th meeting. Thank you very much for those, Verge.
Killian will make a motion to approve.
Killian, to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Severson, was that? Yep. Okay. Second. Any corrections, additions?
I'll just say Beth did send me a bunch of corrections, so I did some amending, but nothing, it was more grammatical and stuff like that, just kind of cleaning it up.
With 22 pages worth of minutes, Verge, again, does an excellent job, but sometimes your fingers go faster than your brain, or your brain goes faster than your fingers.
Well, but the bad thing is if the word is spelt right, spell check doesn't catch that.
Yeah.
You know,
Automatic correction is not the thing to do.
not always, yeah.
Well, with yet another party heard related to automatic correction, which I have trouble with as well. All in favor of approving the minutes as slightly amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. So now we move to the public hearing portion. The Myers are already here with us, and you've brought a guest, or? Oh, okay. So I think you're new to this process, and the way this works is the secretary will read the notice. Who will be taking the Verge? Verge will be describing the request, and then if you have any additions to what her description is, that'll be your time to do it. I will call 3 times for comments from the public, and if anybody's here to speak to that, there's a sign-up sheet over there for, against, or for information. And since we are being streamed and broadcast, I think it would, are we still doing this? I think, nope, but, let me see. Okay, yeah, there'll be a call-in number for people to call in if they have any input. After I ask 3 times and any input, I'll close the public hearing and then open it up for discussion and possible action of the committee. So at this point, I'll call the public hearing to order and ask the secretary to read the notification.
You are hereby given notice that a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, August 4th, 2021 at 9 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 36245 Main Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. The purpose of the hearing, requested by Michael J. and Rebecca A. Meyer, petitioner landowner, Osseo, Wisconsin, is to change the land use zoning from residential 8, R8, to commercial C on approximately 1 acre more or less for the purpose of a greenhouse and a gift shop to sell trees, shrubs, flowers, crafts, gardening tools, yard art, etc. Location: located at the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 10, Township 23 North, Range 7 West in the town of Hale, Trempealeau County, Wisconsin, parcel number 0180035100000. Trempealeau County invites you to join this meeting as follows. To provide public comment on these hearings, please call 715-538-1770. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you're unable to attend and have any questions, please call Virginette Gamroth with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916 or email at vergegamroth@countytrempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. If you're unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comment to Department of Land Management, P.O. Box 67, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to vergegamroth@countytrempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Virginette Gamroth at the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916. Sincerely, Virginette Gamroth, Service Specialist.
Thank you, Beth. Again, the number to call in if you have any a desire to comment on the request is 715-538-1770. Verge, what's the request?
Okay, I received an application from Michael and Rebecca Meyer on June 16th. They'd like to rezone from R8 to commercial. They'd like to do greenhouses, and they want a retail sale gift shop, and they want to sell vegetables, flowers, shrubs, crafts, gardening tools, etc. And you have the land use plan and the zoning maps in your folder. And we published this in the newspaper on June 14th or July 14th and July 21st. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners. I did receive a call from one neighbor, and I got a email from another neighbor, which I can read into the record. I have a letter from the town, so I'll read that into the record when we get to that point. And if approved, this would go to full county board for final approval on August 16th.
Is there anything you want to add to that, sort of describe what your vision is for this business?
I don't think we have a whole lot to add, just that we're excited to have something for the community and local individuals to come and shop local and provide the service of trees and shrubs and gardening for our area, a family-friendly place to visit. So.
Okay. Thank you. And now I ask, yes, Lisa? Excuse us we'll just take a break in the action.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. It's for later in the meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against or ask for any information related to this request for a rezone? We'll wait a minute or so here in case anyone calls in. Again, 715-538-1770. This is for a rezone from R8 to commercial on approximately 1 acre in the town of Hale, right?
Yes.
A minute is a really long time. Okay, I'm going to go for number 2, cutting it short. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against or ask any questions related to the request for a rezone from R8 to commercial for a greenhouse gift shop in the town of Hale? While we're waiting for the phone to ring, why don't you read the letter or the email and the letter from the town?
Okay. I received an email from Jamie Kurth on Monday, August 2nd, and it says, regarding hearing from Mike and Becky Meyer for a commercial property. We are not opposed to the request of the Meyers, but have one question and request. Does the surrounding neighbor's property value decrease if a commercial property is granted? This would be frowned upon. Number 2, we would like their driveway from Hagan Road to the corner of their driveway covered in recycled blacktop, chip sealed, or anything other than shale due to the high amount of dust that impacts us already being able to sit in the backyard. The dust will only increase with the business. Sorry we are unable to attend. We both work days. Thank you, Scott and Jamie Kurth. I did email them back and tell them that we really don't have anything to do with property value and that they should contact their assessor. And then as far as the driveway, the Meyers had talked to Kurths about that, so I don't know if you want to tell them what you told them.
Yeah, we talked to them a little bit about the driveway, and we were thinking maybe like a crushed granite, right now we have crushed limestone, which it breaks down, gets dusty and stuff like that, but I mean, if we put that granite on there, it holds up pretty good for dust, so possibilities like that,
All right, and the town letter?
The other thing is a reason we can't place conditions.
That's,
So, and then I did get a call from Dan Myron, who's another neighbor, I think he's over
Oh.
the hill, and he just asked if someone was in opposition, would it do any good to come and testify? And I said, well, that's a question I can't answer because that's a committee decision. I kind of thought he would be here today, but I don't see him in the room, so I'll leave it at that. And then I have a letter from the town of Hale. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for
Okay.
that.
May 13th, 2021, to the Trumpealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee. On May 11th, 2021, the Town of Hale Board met to discuss the rezoning of approximately 1 acre of Michael and Rebecca Myers' land from residential 8 to commercial. The purpose of the rezone was to allow the Myers to start a greenhouse and a small gift shop at their residence, which is located south of Osseo on Hagan Road. A notice of the rezone request was posted on the Town Board's meeting agenda 1 week prior to the May 11th meeting. There was no public opposition to the rezone request. The Myers presented 2 options for their greenhouse setting, one near their residence and one that would be located further away from their house. The board had no problems with either of the sites because they would be a good distance from neighboring property. The site would also include a parking area, so there would be no issues with cars parking along Hagan Road when doing business at the greenhouse. And after a brief discussion, the board had no problems with the rezone request, and David Lingen made a motion to recommend to the County Environment and Land Use Committee their approval of the zoning change. This motion was seconded by Greg Fonstead and passed unanimously by the board. This letter of approval for the rezone of approximately 1 acre of land from residential 8 to commercial is being authorized by the Town of Hale Board and is being presented to the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee by Donald A. Halverson, Town of Hale Clerk.
thank you, Mr. Halverson. I'll ask a third time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against or has any questions related to the request for the rezone? And I'll wait a little while here. Well, accounting for lag time with the satellite, I think we're clear to close the public hearing at 9:17, and I'll open it up to the committee. What's the desire of the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Is there a second?
rezone.
Second by Nelson, motion by Wallach. Discussion, questions?
I have a couple questions. Have you decided on the other lot? Because I see on the map, this is crossed out, so you're settled.
Yeah, down by the shed.
Okay, the only thing that I would add is like, from past experiences, like make sure you have enough turnaround space, because if you get into suppliers bringing stuff in semis, they've got that big forklift hanging off the back, and sometimes your stuff is way up front, and they gotta have room on both sides to, so that's one thing. I just kinda saw some of these curves could look kinda tight.
Yeah, and our driveway is a horseshoe driveway. It loops right around to unload
Mhm.
semis if we needed to and stuff
Yeah,
like
it
that.
never seems like there's enough.
Right.
Especially if you got other cars in the way and
Yeah.
stuff, so.
Yeah.
We even designate a spot for that, yeah, because
Yeah,
those
we-
guys are in such a hurry too, and
If
they
it
get,
gets to be something like that, we could designate a delivery
Yeah.
date, like say we're not open on Mondays or something like that.
good luck with that, because
Right.
they tell you they're coming one day and.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, one question, you've got on here that the number of acres per zone is 5 to 10. Now, from your buildings, where does that go, the 5 to 10 acres?
We put that originally to include like where we'd be growing
The trees,
vegetables and
Yeah,
trees
we
and
didn't know if
stuff.
that needed to be.
But that
under
doesn't have to be zoned,
Okay.
so just the building and
One
then the
acre.
two
So it's that
greenhouses.
.7, so the .73 is what's actually being rezoned, the
Right.
rest of it is not. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck, for asking, because that was my exact question, too.
Yeah. It makes a big difference if it's an acre or 5 to 10
Right.
acres.
And
Right.
we didn't know if there was people going out and looking at the trees or something like that, or the pumpkin patch, if we had to have that commercial. I didn't know.
But it's just where the transactions occur is where you have to rezone.
Right.
Commercial, so. We got
Good.
that answer after the fact.
If you want to make big bucks, grow cucumbers.
Well, it sounds like you plan on retiring.
He's suggesting pick your own though, right?
Bushel and a half this morning already.
All right, that's good.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the rezone and send it on to the county board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'm sure Verge has mentioned to you that, and as she said earlier, the meeting for the county board is
August 16th.
16th, and your presence is not required, but the chance that there are any other questions from county board members, it'd be great if you could be here.
Typically, what they've been doing through COVID is taking your cell number, so that if you don't want to come to the meeting because of COVID or something, you're available for them to call during that time, which is, it's 7 o'clock at night on August 16th. So, okay, all right.
All right, thanks very much. Thanks for coming. Well,
Thank you.
Even the quiet guy in the corner there, yeah.
Thanks for your time. I'm
Okay.
afraid all the work I'm gonna get into.
Picking cucumbers, it sounds like. Well, our fiscal agent has, you are excused. You're free to go.
Yeah, you're
yes.
free to go, but thank you.
Um,
Have a good day.
You
Our
too.
fiscal agent has arrived, and she put together, I saw her putting these together this morning, the budget. So, turn your mic on and let's go.
So the red light is on down here, but it's not showing up here.
That's weird. Push it again and see what happens. Yeah, it looks like it's burned out.
Do you want
But as
my
long
hand?
as it's on down there, I guess.
Okay, it shows it's on.
I think in the past, one of the mics.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Okay.
Now Kellen and Jeannie don't know who they are. Yeah. But it says, I'm you.
Okay, so I guess we'll just go through this line by line here so you guys get a good idea of what we're looking at.
Can we just do the preview? I think this is probably Kellen's. No, is this your first time through through this process? Yeah, so the,
And Tony's.
oh, and Tony's, that's right. What, you want to describe why we're starting in August for an October meeting?
Sure. So at the end of July, we usually get the final numbers from Paul, and we start making sure that everything matches on our end and their end. Do that throughout the year, but the final numbers after audit. And then we start putting the budget together for you guys to approve in August, because then by the end of August, it'll be turned into the clerk's office. And then the clerk's office will get everything put together for exec finance in September. The exec finance will go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, put what they feel is good for a budget to present to the county board, and that will happen in October. And then usually a decision made by November. It's a long process.
So the process actually starts in July and goes all the way through November. And there are deadlines, and because our meeting is early in the month, we're probably one of the first committees to be reviewing the budget.
Second.
So-
Yes, PTED.
Oh, PTED reviewed it yesterday,
Yes.
okay.
Is this where I could make a request that next year, since Becky gets this at the end of July, and we meet the first week, the first couple of days of
In
August, that next year, our August meeting could be pushed back 1 week?
I would love it.
So she could have some time to put it together and not be quite so stressed out?
Okay, there's going to have to be some corporate memory here, because I'm going to forget this by the time I leave.
I won't.
The request. Okay, write it down and bring that up in the July meeting next year. If we're all still here. So Becky, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, so the very first page is our wages. We don't put these down as people, we put these down as positions. So first, I want to draw your attention to number 5, the planning and conservation, number 4, the planning and zoning specialist. That position, if you see, was not budgeted in 2021, but it is now budgeted in 2022. This is a new position that's being created, and we don't know the exact wage yet. So what's going to happen, I put this as the grade scale that it's gonna be right now, and at a midpoint, to give us a rough idea of maybe where this salary might be, but this isn't exact because we haven't had any final conversations with that. And the same goes for the DLM Director number 1. Of course, it was budgeted in 2021, now budgeted in 2022. That one I actually just left at what the next step would be for that position where it was terminated at before. So again, those two numbers will definitely change. We have no idea where they're going to be set at with the new people taking over, with whatever their wage decisions are going to be. The only other thing to look at here would be number 10, the zoning and UDC inspector. You see that we're not budgeting it on this page in 2022. It's because we have that contract with GEC. It will actually be on the second to last page showing where that expense is going to be out, but it's no longer in the main packet of the budget. But with that one, keep in mind that's money in, money out. The money for the coming in from the building permits pays for the inspections that we do with GEC. So that's where we're at with that. So with that being said, you'll notice on the very bottom that we're actually less this coming year than we are in 2021. But that is mostly because the building inspector is not in there. Any questions on page 1?
One thing, these salaries have to be difficult because the county's doing a study now of
Yes.
all the positions, and I can't see them recommending that any of these wages go any lower.
Yeah,
Because we're competing with the neighboring counties, La Crosse and Eau Claire, and just to get people, quality people to come here is not going to be an easy task. So it must be difficult with salaries.
It was. I wasn't sure if we were going to have any of that information ahead of time or not, but since it wasn't ready yet, I'm just going to base it off of how we normally would do it in a regular fiscal year. We'll go from there and see how it happens.
Becky, so, like, the first 3 of these, is my understanding, are subsidized, right? But, I mean, they're not all county funds, are they? I mean, for the salary, they're through the land and water?
So the first 3 in here, these are not listed in order for that. They're just listed in like a generic order of where they
Okay.
end up on my sheet. So the order of these means nothing. But yes, there are 3 positions potentially that get funded by staffing grants through land and water. So the first position is funded by 100%, the second position 75, and then 50, but we've never ever gotten that 50%. They're trying, but it hasn't ever come through yet. So a position and a half maybe getting funded.
So I mean, that depends on the state's budget on what you
Right.
get or whatever, okay.
Right, and then that will be coming up on one of the next pages. You'll see what they just sent it over late yesterday afternoon, what their pre-allocation is, so I can give you an idea. All right, so going on to page 2. Page 2, the first section, we don't budget anything in this top portion except for the per diems, and you'll notice the per diem fees are 150. They used to be 70 and 35. We went up a little bit because of that in 2021 to make sure we covered it, but we're still staying the same in 2022 with 1,500 and 1,800. The next section in B, which would be the fringe benefits, we have no control over this. This is all based off of what the wages are, and then for Social Security, retirement, Medicare. Health insurance is still being talked about. We have no idea where those numbers are going to be at, but I just kind of went off of a rough estimate with what we had before. So then going on to the next page, which is the stuff that we really do have control over. Page 3 is our expenses. If you see between 21 and 22, at the very bottom, we're not changing anything. We're keeping all of our line items the same. We're not increasing anything for our expenses. The first one, the legal, that is if we need to do any, like if we need to get a lawyer for any mining issues or anything like that. We've only dipped into that once since I've been here in almost 6 years. The surveyor, that's dropped to 50,000, but that was what it was in 21. And then telephone repair.
Just to point out, in the past, it's been, prior to the maintenance of the public land survey system, it had been as much as $250,000.
Yes, it's
So-
decreased over the years.
Yes.
Yep, I want to say it was like 73,000 something previously, like most recently, and then 21 dropped down to 50,000. Okay, here, or number 319, that's the UDC seals. So that one actually helps pay for a lot of stuff that we have with the building inspection as well. So that's money in, money out for that one as well. But if you notice, if you look down to meal reimbursements and lodging, you'll see that those are drastically decreased, and that's because of COVID. We really haven't spent a lot out of those because there really is no place to go. A lot of our meetings have been turned to virtual, so we've really kind of been just in the office or working from home. Is there any questions on page 3 at all? No? Okay.
Chuck knows this. This is usually the page where the Exec Finance Committee starts, if I can characterize it, as nickel and diming. You know, okay, so we're going to take $300 from your continuing education, but we've still got $250,000 to take out of the budget. But so these will probably come back a little different after Exec Finance.
All right, the next page. So if you look at the capital outlay, if number 2 on there, the 811, I want to talk with Paul about this one because that one is our remodel fund. We spent $9,470.96 out of it in 2020, and that was to do the offices upstairs. But I have been told that they're trying to get that money back out of that COVID grant. So if that's the case, then that money should be put back into our budget, and it should be back up to the $12,500. So I'm kind of watching that, and I want to talk with him and see if that's going to be the case or not, or if we're just going to be losing that $9,000 out of our budget to pay for it, even if the county does get reimbursed with that COVID grant. So that one right now is one of the ones that I'm watching, and it's not quite ready yet. Okay, then we go into the revenue section. So this is money that we bring in. Wildlife damage has graciously said that they do not require us to only do 500, that they will allow us to expense out all of my hours for what I do with that program. So in 2020, I put through $637.19 for keeping the program, the paperwork, and doing all the reimbursements for it. So you'll see that that's going to probably go up in 2021. We don't reimburse these until the end of the year, so you're not going to see a lot of revenue sitting in here right now. County coordinator, that comes from snowmobile. The state grant, that is the one that is coming from the land and water staffing grant. If you look over on the 2022 request column, it's sitting at $163,490. That is their pre-allocation. So it's gone up a good $30,000 from last year, or from this year to next year. So fingers crossed it stays that way, and we do get to have the $163,000. And then the trim engineering, that's $12,000. Land review, FPP. The FPP fees, we're going to keep it at $3,000 right now, but people are slowly graduating out of that program. Their contracts, farmland preservation, their contracts are now coming due, so we're not having as many payments coming in as we used to. So we're trying to get people into the AEA, which is a bigger program for farmland preservation. They have to be in this group in order to get into it. And if we can get people into that, we'll get more money. But if we can't, then it's going to drop. So right now, we're just sitting the same for $3,000, and we'll see where it goes.
Becky, I'm going to interject,
Sure.
Because this is a question Beth has. What is our status with the agricultural enterprise areas?
I'm not 100% sure. So that's a good question for Chuck. They're deciding right now who is going to be more or less heading up that realm, if it's going to be Chuck or Reed or Haley. And then I know that they're going to be trying to figure out how to get people into those programs because they're not going away.
Well, perhaps you noticed, but Chuck and Haley are right over there. Maybe we should ask them if they have any input on this.
I wish I did. I'm a little vague on it at this point.
Okay.
So.
And you're as vague, Haley?
Yep.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
But so far, was it just the township of Arcadia that was an
That's the
AEA
only one that I know.
Still that way?
Okay.
And I don't think that any other ones have been pursued since that.
Right.
don't think
They're not coming to us. We need to pursue. So
Right.
when you guys get a chance, definitely look into that.
Would the new programs be more lenient, like to development or rezones? Because I know Colfax purchased a land and it was in farmland preservation and they had to come here
Mhm.
to get it redone for a building site because of the farmland preservation. They only had one homestead for 70 acres, not 40. Yes, he did. That's true, but I know there's legwork and
Well-
more restrictions with farmland preservation or other programs.
Right, everybody in exclusive ag, it was at some point, probably in farmland preservation, or still is. So, yes, in order to create the more lots that they wanted to create, they had to change the zoning designation from that, but who were you talking about? I didn't hear the name.
Rick and Dave back.
Would have been,
Would have been Pat Tullifson's back in
Yeah,
June.
yeah, and I believe that that was no longer in farmland
Well,
preservation.
it was, because that's why it had to come here, because it come back, because we as a town had to sign something saying we would grant.
I'm thinking on my spreadsheet of names, and I want to say back is on there still. I don't think it's graduated out yet.
So the point is that the agriculture enterprise areas have entirely different set of requirements. They're discouraging individual property owners wanting to do groups of people, or in the case of Arcadia, possibly even all of the town of Arcadia. So, but again, we have new staff. Those who were in charge previously have moved on, so we're almost starting from scratch again. So I was trying to get Beth's question answered, and hopefully, even though it's not much of an answer, that's the answer.
I do remember that we had passed, because I think when Kirsty was here, that the town of Arcadia passed through the agriculture enterprise area, but I don't think anything went any farther than that. But I think anything else was done in the rest of the county.
Thank you. What's next?
Well, just continuing down with the revenues here, we've got the building permit fees. Those right now are set at $50,000 for revenue coming in. We usually go over, but we're never sure what they're going to be at depending on the building, how people are building and stuff like that. Zoning, I mean, all this stuff is just our regular fees. Our revenues have not changed. We're keeping everything the same from 2021, which is still the same from 2020. All right, any questions on revenues? The next page, which is kind of sideways in your packet, is the fringe worksheet. That is just how the numbers on page 2 get calculated through for the fringe benefits. So you can just skip over that one. So that is the main part of the budget. Now we're getting into our single items. These are ones that should be non-levy. There's a few of them that might have a little bit of it, but we'll go through them page by page. So this is for non-metallic mining reclamation, $7,500, money in, money out. This is just for the program itself. Nothing really to look at there. Going to county cost share, we are asking for $80,000 again, just like we have in the past couple years. This one, keep in mind that money does not get spent out until late summer, early fall, and then it rolls over. We keep whatever we don't spend in this account. So you'll see in 2020, obviously we spent more, but we also had more money to keep there to spend it out from. So we're still requesting the $80,000 into 2022.
Is there a cap? Did the county, I don't recall, did the county board put a cap on how much we can roll over and keep?
No, but we don't want to, we don't like it sitting out there because we want to make sure we get these projects done.
Right.
So we really don't keep a lot of money in it. Sometimes we roll over 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there was one year we had like 30,000 because we didn't have a lot of projects that year. But it always gets spent that following year. So right now, we're on docket to spend everything this year. Going into the next one, planning. So this will be a part of the, that new position that we're getting in. So this, if you see at the bottom, the 6,600, that's for townships for going through their plan. I am not very good with this program. I don't understand it very well. So, I mean, somebody who's been here longer, like Ferg, probably be able to explain it better if you had questions about the planning program. But as far as where the money goes, this is, We used to contract with Mississippi River Regional Planning. I don't know if we'll still do that or if we'll keep it in-house. So next page would be Fish and Game, also known as conservation aids. This amount of money is based off of the size of the county. So no matter what, our baseline is always $1,971. It is a 50-50 match grant. So then the club would have to contribute that as well. So our minimum we can get is the $3,942, but I try to always ask for more every year. So I budgeted this at the minimum, knowing we'll definitely get that. And then there's counties out there in the state that don't use theirs. So if we ask for more, then we sometimes can get more. So a couple years ago, the park got $4,000, so 50-50 match, $8,000 to put in boardwalks. So that was wonderful. This can go towards conservation projects, if we're gonna do habitat, if we're gonna do anything for public fishing, that kind of thing. And then that program is run through me. We work a lot with the rod and gun clubs or any other conservation club in the area. We're actually going to be talking about this next month to get one going for October approval for the DNR. Tree and shrub program. We put $3,500 into this part of it. This program is mostly ran out of our I&E expenses. You guys, I'm sure, are all aware of the tree and shrub program and how the county gets the trees in. And okay, but yeah, it's money in, money out. Nothing coming from the levy on this one at all.
Who will be running the program this next year?
I've already worked on it a little bit, and I pre-ordered or reserved trees from one nursery. One nursery said that they would not reserve trees until October, so.
Okay.
I got the numbers. I talked to the DNR forester about our species selection, so it's well on its way.
Okay, thank you. So anybody in the public, it's still around. It'll be here next spring.
The next page, which is page 11, is the vehicle account. So in here, we've got a couple, every year we rotate our vehicles out. So the ones that are the oldest, it's pretty much like kind of a 3-year cycle, but there's usually 1 or 2 every year that go out. You'll notice in 2020 that the DLM mileage revenue is drastically decreased. It's only $7,000. Well, in 2020, we couldn't go anywhere. So we couldn't expense it out because there was no mileage to expense. So that's why we don't have more revenue in that from 2020. That's why we were left with a little bit of a total at the bottom. But the same account every year, we haven't changed anything. Any questions on this one? The Wisconsin Fund, this one is always up in the air with what the amounts are gonna be because we keep hearing that this account is leaving, but it still is kind of around. Mark is more or less the guru in this one.
Well, unless things change, it's gonna be over with.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Unless the state changes and funds it,
Microphone.
unless the state changes or, puts it back in their budget, it's gonna be daylighting here within the next year or two. I mean, the practices that would be eligible had to either been applied for or put in this summer. I mean, there's talk of it coming back, but.
We had one that we paid out this year, $3,335. So, I mean, it's always good to see when we can help people out with this kind of thing. I know Mark works a lot with the program.
Does everybody know what that is?
Why don't you go ahead and describe it?
Well, Mark, why don't you describe it?
It's just a program that's income-based, that people can apply for after they get their system replaced. It's a
Septic system.
Yeah, septic system. It's a reimbursement. It's not a cost-share program of any kind. Like, the septic system gets replaced, and then, we turn an application into the state, based on eligibility, and if it gets accepted, they get some money reimbursed. It's roughly maybe 50%, not even that maybe, but it's something. It's just one of the programs that were cut, in the state budget over the years, and it's been discussed of bringing it back, but right now it doesn't look too hopeful.
All right, any questions about the Wisconsin Fund? No? Okay. Page 13 is wildlife damage. This is where we work with the USDA and Dwayne Snowball. We don't know their budget until usually about October. So I usually have to do a budget amendment on this one because we don't know what their request is going to be from us. So I always base it off of the previous year. So that's why 21 and 22 are the exact same. Not really much we're doing with this one. The program is pretty much run by Dwayne Snowball. They take care of doing all the crop damage, and we just get the information, and then I file it and make sure we have the reimbursements back for the state. So, any questions on wildlife damage?
It's just, it seems like every page there's a caveat. As far as I know, there still is a wildlife damage program. But I also, as far as I know, there's still a suggestion that it be the county's oversight be taken out of it and it all be given to the DNR. Does anyone have any update on the legislative?
I haven't heard anything changing yet.
Pardon?
I have not heard any updates on it.
It's still in discussion as far as I've been told.
I had a conversation with a couple of people at the Wisconsin Counties Association who didn't even know that this program existed. The county board passed a resolution in support of the county participation, and I saw a number of other counties that also passed some support for this. So, let us know when you know something.
Will do. Page 14 is NMFE. That stands for Nutrient Management Farmer Education. So this program is, farmers can come in, we help them write their nutrient management plans. They'll work with WTC, and we can do incentive payments for up to $500 per person. We can help them with their soil testing for up to $500 per person. And grand total, I mean, it's the same every year, the last few years, we've been getting $20,000. The last couple years, we have not spent all the $20,000. It's really hard trying to get farmers to come in to do this, especially with 2020. They were not sure if they'd still be farming with COVID. So 2020, we only spent $8,000 out of that $20,000. So it was kind of sad to see that, but we try. You go door to door, you ask people to come in, and it was such an uncertain year, we weren't sure what to do with it. So hopefully this year we can get more in or more spent out of it. It's still looking like a pretty sad year, but hopefully things will change in the future here.
So the money comes from the state?
Yes, the money comes from the state, DNR, and then it's the same as our other grants, money in, money out. Trim. So Trim is still in conversations. They had, I talked to our correspondents down at DNR yesterday. They are still in conversation about whether or not the Lundberg-Giese project will be approved yet. I'm putting it in as if we're getting it. So the state share would be $171,225. Our large-scale grants have not been spent out all the way yet, so I'm just transferring them over. So right now, on docket to get reimbursed could be up towards of $879,655. And that's where we're sitting at right now with that. But the large-scale ones, we can put multiple landowners in those programs, so we still have pots of money sitting there. Those technically would sunset this year, but in September, we can ask for an extension.
September of this year.
Yep, September of this year, we can ask for an extension.
So is the Bruce Valley, that's what's being done now, some of that?
Yep, there's some in Bruce Valley, some in Pigeon Creek.
Because the excavators are up there now.
Randy?
And the trim is?
Target runoff management. Yep. And then the other big one we have is our land and water on page 16. So this is based off of the numbers for 2022, is off of their pre-allocation, so nothing is set in stone yet with these guys either. We may not know until October. I'm hoping September. But the breakdown is in red below. So staff and support is set for $163,490. Our bond fund, they increased a little bit this year to $70,500, and our SEG fund dropped a little bit to $20,000.
Remind us what the SEG is.
The SEG is more of the nutrient management.
Okay.
So dropped again, obviously we requested less because we're having a harder time getting the farmers with the nutrient management programs to go through. But again, money in, money out, this is not levied. The next one is a newer account. I don't know if anybody, veterans here, have noticed the multi-discharge variance account. I need to change the spelling up top. I see that's spelled wrong, and I see I need to change the submitted by as well. Page 17. So this one is, and I handle the finance part of it, so I'm not 100% familiar with the program. But from my understanding, this is, everything works in a huck, and the money comes from the people who are putting the phosphorus in the area in that huck. They have to pay for what they're putting in. A huck is like the watershed, the bigger section of watershed.
Okay.
There's like huck 12s, huck 8s,
Oh,
huck 10s.
okay. I've seen the maps, yeah.
So, so from my understanding, they have to pay us a certain amount of money based off the level of phosphorus that they're putting into the watersheds. And then in turn, we have to do conservation projects in that watershed to try to offset it.
We're talking incorporated municipalities.
Yes.
Chuck, do you want to, can you chime in here, or Haley?
Our county is one of the, I think it is the highest one that gets the amount of huck money. And Haley and I have been talking about basically a strategy on how to do that. And we were thinking some filter strips at this point, but that's preliminary. And I also talked to some other counties, and they've done some practices, and the DNR has protested that, saying that is not a phosphorus reduction. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. And, you know, these practices have to be phosphorus reduction practices.
Able to be proven to be phosphorus.
Correct. And some, like I said, some counties have been putting in some other conservation practices, but the DNR has said they are not phosphorus reduction. So I guess we're working on it.
Okay.
So the 2022 numbers are just preliminary numbers, and they are very much subject to change. But if you notice, there's been a drastic increase of money that they're suggesting that we're going to get this year. This is immensely larger than any other county in the state. It's kind of crazy. Chuck's gotten information from other counties asking, how did you guys get this much money? It's not us, it's how much they determine their county is going to be getting from the area. But it went up to $162,965.43 based off of what it was in 2021. So
Well,
that's a huge increase.
Many other rural counties don't have 9 municipalities with
Right.
water treatment systems.
And this doesn't just come from our county, like, we get money from Black River, other areas that anything that's involved in that huck, it doesn't matter if it's county line or not, they have to send money to the county that's in that. So, I mean, we pull money from all over. I have all of the payments up at my desk, so if anybody's curious where they're coming from, I can show you exactly who's sending money in.
You make it sound like checks show up in the mail and you don't know where they come from.
They do.
Oh, really?
Yes, checks show up in the mail, and I'm not sure, like, we never know exactly who we're gonna be getting them from. So, it's quite interesting. So I keep a huge folder, and I keep them all organized out, so we have them all on track.
I love that. You know, I remember the presentation. We had representation from all of the municipalities here to talk about this. This must have been 2-3 years ago, even longer ago than that. And they were wondering what this was all about. And we were wondering what it was all about and how it was going to work. And at the time, it was downplayed as, you know, basically we would be getting administration type costs, and there'd be sort of a flow through for practices and so forth. But apparently it's turned into something a little bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways, it's good and bad, because, you know, what it is a result of the waste management or waste treatment plants polluting. But, you know, we should use that in good choice for the conservation practices to balance off what they're polluting with phosphorus and we're reducing. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
But to get there, we're going to have to do some more research on how to do that.
I was just thinking about this program the other day. The big project that was done outside of Arcadia by the Suklas, how can you find out if that's really made a difference? I know they do water testing and stuff, but when do you find out that, yeah, that was a successful project?
That's a good question. I'm not sure on the answer, but I know that water testing is definitely involved with it.
So Chuck, go ahead.
I guess I'm curious of what project is it and what was done, so I could do a little bit more research for future reference.
It was done last year in Myers Valley, kind of off of County J, heading toward Dodge. There was a whole, like, stream bank.
Miles.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Miles.
phenomenal. And it had to do with the city of Arcadia and, you know, their runoff getting to the Trempealeau
phosphorus,
River and, you know, yeah, the phosphorus, not runoff, but, you know, so I don't know how you decide or how long it takes before, yeah, that made a difference.
I can research it and get it back to you individually, or I can present it to
Let's present, yes.
to the meeting.
Did Kirsty do the village of Strum, all the riprap around the lake above the dam and below through this project, or no?
I don't think that was through this project, no. The MDV projects are really just starting this year for us. So the Arcadia one was, I believe, through the city. I don't know how much involvement the county had with it, but we have 2 MDV projects right now on docket. They're in the folders with the yellow label at your desk. Any more questions on MDV?
Is that municipal something? What's the acronym stand for?
Multi-discharge variant. Sorry, I had to think about it.
Oh, it's up there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just have to
It's up there.
correctly spell discharge. I have a T in there that needs to be pulled out.
Just these acronyms.
Yeah. When you're dealing with them, they're nice.
All right, so the next page, page 18, is building inspection. And this is the, where we're removing the zoning and UDC inspector off of the wages, contracting with GEC. So the revenue from our building inspection goes, this is the offset page for it here. I just put the request in at 50,000 because we really don't know how much money we're gonna be working with here. This is brand new. I'm not sure, so I just put it to pretty much offset our revenue, so it's completely money in, money out at this point. And if we need to do a budget adjustment mid-year, we'll do a budget adjustment. But, I mean, the best part is there won't be any levy on it because it is gonna be, the money that goes to pay GEC is based off of the permits we get in, so.
Apparently, they've started the county building remodeling already, so we're going to close one of the doors here to get the sound down. There is a item on the agenda further down to talk about that GEC contract. I'm sure we'll be calling Rick Niemeyer about that as well.
And then just disregard the last page because, do you guys have building inspection again? It shouldn't be on there.
Cross it off.
Cross it off.
It's a lot. Those who've been through this process know that. But in order for this to move up the ladder, so to speak, we need a motion to approve the budget and send it on to exec finance, or to Paul first, I guess.
I'll make a motion to
Chuck?
approve the presented budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Kellen does the second. Thank you. If you have any questions, go to Becky. She can show you the folders and remind you of what the acronyms stand for. All right, all in favor of approving the budget and sending it on, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It passes. And Becky, thank you so much for all the work. If anybody in the public or anyone watching anywhere in the world wants a copy, either stop in at Becky's office or contact her and she can get you a copy of the budget. Okay? All right, thank you. So who's going to talk about the gravel pit out where it used to be the front yard?
Are you talking about the DL?
Where the parking of DLM vehicles during courthouse construction.
Okay, sorry, Jerry, I should have probably mentioned you, but this came up at Executive Finance, and we're working on a solution to the parking problem we are going to have for this building coming up soon. Soon, the back parking lot's gonna be closed. Hobson Street is gonna be torn up for a while, so there'll be no parking on Hobson Street. This cross street here is gonna be closed. We're trying to find solutions to parking. If any of you were around yesterday, you noticed the big tree was cut down in the front yard.
Yeah.
They are gonna make a parking lot there, and the initial plan was that's where the land management vehicles would be parked. But we're trying to open up some space because we've got to have places for people to park that are coming to the courthouse. And this was brought up as a discussion item, and not for any action, but just to give us guidance as to if you see any problems or positives for possibly taking the land management vehicles. I don't know, how many vehicles do you have? 6?
Six big trucks.
If we can open up 6 spots, it would make a big difference.
Oh, so again, this is a discussion issue.
Yep.
So you're saying open up 6 spots in the new parking area?
Yep. Mhm. It's just so people have a spot to park. Because you know what it's like here with the parking lots now. The street is full already. Where are all the workers gonna park? Where are people that are coming to the court? If we have a trial, I can't imagine what's gonna happen. We've talked to the church. They've agreed if they don't have anything going on to let you park there. But boy, you start getting any farther than that, you're way downtown already. So we're just looking for possible solutions to the parking problem.
Beth has one here, right now. Here we go.
I don't have a solution, but this has been my concern since day one with the new building, that we're going to be losing all kinds of parking space for staff. And, you know, I'm not on the building committee or anything, but where are people going to be parking, you know, temporarily, but in the future? You know, my thought was, let's put an underground garage, but I know that that's, you know,
Well,
or
you know,
parking
we're-
ramp or something.
We're laughing at that, but that may be a possibility. You stack the cars up rather than have them walk farther. You know, the hospitals do it, but all we're doing is just looking for ideas. If you see problems with people taking those vehicles home,
I was just about to say that.
you know, and that's why we're bringing it up.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I guess I think, you know, talking with others in the office about it also, the problem would be, you know, we're paying extra gas for people to drive back and forth, insurance, you know, just security, and the risk of someone abusing it and using it for their, doing something
Personal
wrong. You
use.
know, that'd be the biggest concerns I think we would have. I mean, Beck, if you wanna, I mean, I think the gas and then you know, we record our mileage for these grants that she talked about in the budget. You know, we can't be recording excessive amount of miles. We'd have to single all that out. That's just something that we kind of discussed internally. That might be a problem with doing that. I mean, I do understand it is going to be an issue. I mean, we'll have a spot to park our vehicles with the parking lot that's being constructed right now, but, you know, if people bring in their personal vehicles, you know, we're going to be all over the place to try to park, but.
It was just an idea one of the.
Right, I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not necessarily against it 100%, but I guess those are the,
There are some concerns.
those are
and that was-
particulars that we are concerned about.
And that's why we brought it here.
Right.
Because you would know the concerns you would have. And we knew that extra mileage would be one of them.
They would be here during the day anyway.
What's that?
The company vehicles or county vehicles would be here during the day anyway, right? They'd still need a big place to park during the day.
Right.
Yeah, unless they were out on a visit. Yeah.
Go ahead, Becky.
So the biggest concern I have is fiscally. I mean, because we're going to be having extra wear and tear in our vehicles. We're going to have a lot of extra mileage that would normally be on there. So the reason our program works so well with our vehicles is because we're able to turn vehicles over with low miles and get new vehicles back for a fraction of the price. Now we're going to be also worried about people, like our insurance covers the same way it does for snowmobile. So if a groomer is parked at someone's property, like in their garage, and that garage burns down, that landowner is responsible for that groomer. So now you're going to have county employees responsible for county vehicles on their own property. And then the county employees would have to be charged as well. There's a fee that you have to pay to take a vehicle home. I know the sheriff's department does that. It's roughly around like $20. I believe per pay period. I have to get with HR on that. But the other thing too is there's no security at a person's home. We have a lot of tools and stuff in these vehicles that they're under the camera. I've been working with Jeremy and talking a lot about this situation. There's going to be 20 spots up front. He can't mark them out right away because we can't really mark anything in gravel. But once it's blacktopped after a couple months, he'll be able to mark them out, and that's where Human Services vehicles, they're 4, and then our 6 are supposed to go. Then he said the rest will be open for public, which 20 spots will be leave 10 for public parking, or preferably not employees, preferably public. And then public will be parking, or employees will be parking on the side streets, and then in the parking lot over by the hospital too as well, although they'll be losing their parking spaces too soon, so there's going to be fights for that. But long story short, there's just too much that could go wrong with these county vehicles being driven home. That would be good. And then when they come here, they are going to need a spot. And then also, we have other departments that use our vehicles. Human Services don't have enough, so they might use one of ours, or the maintenance uses our trucks for a lot of stuff. If you have somebody who takes a vehicle home and they're sick, now that vehicle's out of commission for the day. We don't have that vehicle back here. It needs to be here. But it's my opinion as the fiscal person. That is not the department opinion. So please
Okay.
just take that
Well,
with a grain
and
of salt.
that's why we brought it here. But we are just looking for possible solutions.
Is there room to park them out at the highway temporarily?
Out at
The highway shop?
but then you got transportation. I
Yeah,
don't
they'd
know.
have to take their personal vehicle out if
Vehicle
they
out
needed
there, yeah.
one, but
Yeah, that would cover the, what should I say, possible damage or whatever.
Yeah, the
'cause-
security
'cause
part.
there's, security's the word I'm looking for, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. what's-
It's gonna be, and just to make it even worse, is there's gonna be time Hobson Street is gonna be torn up. You may not be able to walk from that parking lot across
No.
where the ball field is to the courthouse.
And Jeremy was saying that if it is tore up, like if this front section is shut down for a little bit, that he would label off the first few parking spots that are still on camera in the baseball field parking lot. He'd label those off for county vehicles, that way they're still on camera. We'd have to walk around to get to them, but they would still be on county property, or not county property, but on county surveillance.
And the reason there's gonna be crushed rock for a while is he's building the parking lot now, but then there's some street work that has to be done, so he doesn't wanna put blacktop down right away until they're done with the street. Sewer and water is just gonna be a mess for a while here. Just looking for possible
Right.
solutions.
It's a tough thing to figure out because, I mean, there's not going to be very much. I know some people have brought up if there are, like, let's say, Human Services, because they're so good with working from home right now, they're trying to push that more. Let's say that they went half staff worked from home, and then they rotated. That would drop down your staffing being in the building. Maybe some people need to work from home who can work from home during this rougher time. I mean, there's options that way to reduce the staff actually at the location. But still, I mean, we did it through COVID. I know people have made that comment as well. Not my opinion, but that's what I've heard.
When you just stop and think, where is there to park in Whitehall? There's no place, you know.
Maybe there needs to be a shuttle service, like out from the highway department, employees park out there and, temporarily
Yeah.
shuttle people here
That's
to
a
work.
possibility also, yeah, okay, good idea,
Yeah.
that's something to bring.
How about down the healthcare center?
Like the
Is there
big
any
city.
room?
Healthcare center is very minimal parking also.
Yes, very good.
But we just do not
Unless
have
you're up by
parking.
the old site, that's not quite as populous with employees up there, that could be small.
No.
Or is there room out by the healthcare center
That's
for
what he
people
just
to,
asked.
oh, I didn't hear him say.
No, there's not a lot of room out there
Build a
either.
parking lot on the other side there where the open field.
Yeah, so, but but that is an idea also, is the employees not run a shuttle all day.
Right.
But just one in the morning when you come to work, and then, because if you're gonna start paying a person to be shuttling all day, then, I don't know. It's gonna be a mess, just to let everybody know.
At least till they get the,
For a whole year, you could basically say it's gonna, because
Oh, probably.
staging area or
All
longer.
winter,
From, well, kind of the
Staging
way it
areas.
sounds from now on,
Yep.
because there's just gonna be, a lot of these spots aren't coming back,
No,
you know?
until the new facility is built and the parking area there is
So
complete.
it'll all be, what's available now will be, once construction's done, it'll all, like the Hobson Street, and they're not gonna, lose parking with this. I haven't seen the blueprint, so I don't know. Yeah, that's what, because
Yeah, we're
from
gonna
now
be losing.
on, yeah.
Well, and then the only entrance is gonna be, there's gonna be one entrance, so
Yeah.
there will be no entrance from Dewey Street to the new courthouse. So parking on the street out here is not gonna be a solution either.
Yeah, so this isn't, This
It's
is just
the
a-
one entrance that's gonna face the south.
Mhm.
That's the only place people will be able to get in.
Well,
Parking lot right there.
Well, there is going to be a quick trip entrance, but it comes into the foyer,
Yeah, into the foyer, yeah.
which then goes up.
But it was just that was our,
Do you have some ideas that you've got something to take
No.
back?
well, okay, I'll tell it that basically the department is not in favor of it because of the increased expenses.
Okay, thank you. Should we call Rick on this one? He's been negotiating with
Okay.
GEC. Do we know how to use this?
Rick is on the road, but he's available to take a call.
I've got his number here. Can we get him on this phone here? So when we discussed this last time, what we asked GEC to agree to was a non-competition clause. It had been right after they had made an agreement with Blair to take over the commercial inspections and the UDC inspections.
Yes.
And Blair passed a resolution and sent us the notification that that we were no longer responsible for UDC inspections in 1 and 2 family dwelling
Hi, Rick,
inspections.
this is Verge. We're in the Department of Environment and Land Use Committee meeting, so I'd like to put you on speakerphone so we can discuss the GEC contract. Okay. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Here. This might help for volume. Rick, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Pretty good.
we can hear you too. I just mentioned to, there's a lot of vibration coming through the floor right now. It must be doing something across the street. That a sticking point in our negotiation has to do with the non-competition clause that we put in. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I did speak with, off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, was it Mark?
Mark, yeah.
But I spoke with an individual from GEC, and they are requesting that provision be removed. He did indicate that it's not their intent to go around and gather the municipalities, but in the event that a municipality approaches them, they want that option available, so they are requesting that provision be removed.
It's heartening to hear that their intent is not to do that. I think that was what our fear was.
Correct. All the other provisions of the agreement were acceptable. That was just the one that they were questioning about.
I think I'm going to share this with the committee in a discussion I've had with you and with Becky. I think the important thing in this negotiation or in this discussion, and maybe you should tell me now if we should be going into closed session before we get too far into this.
Are you still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Rick?
Hello?
He's in a death spot.
Uh-oh. Rick, can you hear us?
Oh, are you still there?
I'm still here. Hello? I actually asked him a legal question and then he disappeared.
Not sure I have the greatest reception here.
Okay, can you hear me now? Oh, it appears not. The concern I'm going to, hopefully you'll come back at some point, but the concern that I had is why are we doing, or the base of this discussion is why are we doing inspections for municipalities? And it's consistency, quality, I mean, all the definitions of consistency that the county is able to offer, as well as the county knowing where the developments are, whether people need to be checked on for violations and so forth. And the idea that basically all it is that we would be doing in the course of passing it, all the inspections, the physical inspections off to GEC, is we'd be doing the paperwork, which gives us the knowledge of what's happening on the land in the county in a way that's considerably more efficient than if we would have to either go through them or go to the state for the information. So the question that for the committee is, are we willing to take out that non-competition clause? They will sign it if we do that. Can we still do what it is that we want to do at a base level and without that competition clause, non-competition clause? Yeah.
I guess I don't see why there'd be any problem to remove it. They've stated that they aren't planning on, going after other businesses. Now, they're providing commercial inspections for some committees, but that's something we don't provide as part of our contract anyway. So I don't see why it'd be an issue at all.
And from the towns, I mean, that's why we have a comprehensive, countywide comprehensive plan, is we turned our rights over to the county for, as you stated.
Responsibilities, yeah, right.
Responsibilities and unification and everything else, so. I mean.
We would still be providing the service. It would be, instead of through an employee, through a contract.
Correct.
Was it just Blair?
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kurt.
Is it just Blair so far that's wanting out?
Randy?
It still is a little, disarming that they, when Blair did approach them, that they, because like at that point, I would have thought that they would have been somewhat representing the county, that they wouldn't have, at least encouraged Blair to, because, what did they offer, to them individually that wasn't going to be offered to them as a whole county? I don't understand that.
I don't know motivations. We have someone who's worked with this in the past. Haley, what do they do in Eau Claire County?
Well, I was in Chippewa County. We had
Chippewa County, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
not a problem. We had a UDC inspector that he was part of our staffing. And he did inspections for all of the towns except for the cities. So like City of Boyd, City of Chippewa Falls, all of these cities, they had their own inspectors unless they came to the county and said that they wanted to contract through us. Chippewa doesn't have county-wide zoning. It's only those towns that elected to be within that zone underneath the comprehensive plan. So it was probably about half the county that had the comprehensive zoning plan, the other half did not. But we did UDC inspections across the whole county. But here, we don't have a UDC inspector on hand, so I think that's where that's coming into play. I know that it's hard, just listening from my previous UDC inspector, there's not a lot out there. As far as individuals that would do that role, you have to have a lot of credentials, and I mean, some of them can make more money on their own. So it's kind of a balancing act. It's hard to find one. So
That's the point we're up against here. Is in the past, our UDC inspectors have decided to do that. Is just go and make more money on their own. So I'm hearing a willingness on the part of the committee to remove that clause and instruct Rick to go ahead and get that signed. Is there any more input from staff related to that?
No, I don't think, it could be problematic, because, we're basing it on their honesty and their integrity and all this, but I don't think they're gonna alter their thinking on it, so I don't think it pays to argue with them too much about it, just move forward with what we have, and hopefully it isn't a pattern.
Okay, thank you.
I just have, I'll go along with the group, I guess, but it took a lot of years to build up the program. Arcadia finally did what last year or 2 years ago, joined the
Agreed,
county. So we were total county, and now we're taking the chance that we're gonna, lose it all and go back to, not having the consistency that we've been, working so many years for. We can only hope that they say we're not going to, strip away everybody, but if they do, then we're back to the past.
Yes, Becky?
I guess the only thing I can give solace to would be how, in order for them to strip away a town, they'd have to offer something better than what we are offering. So they would have to decrease their prices, I would think, for one. So why would they want to do that? Just trying to speak fiscally, I would think that they would want to keep it with us, because if they're going to try to offer something better, they're going to be losing money then. So that's the only thing I can come up with, like, as to why a town would want to go with them. It would be a cheaper option. But, we're already providing the same service. So, that could kind of give you a little peace of mind.
Okay, thank you for that peace of mind. Because like Beth, I've been, not every night, but staying awake some nights thinking about just her concerns.
George?
Yes?
Yeah, I guess it could be addressed in contract renewals, too.
Pardon?
It could be addressed at contract renewal, too.
Right,
I'm-
right. This will be a 3-year contract.
Yeah, but it is, even what Becky just said, so I don't know why they didn't discourage Blair. I just don't get that. It doesn't look good, when they, turn around and say that's not their intent. Their intent, was it different then? They weren't under contract then.
I think to make it official, I'd entertain a motion to remove the non-competition clause and instruct Rick to go ahead and make the final arrangements for the GEC contract.
I would second that.
Okay. Motion by Scoyen, second by Nelson. All in favor of removing the non-competition clause and instructing Rick to go ahead with the final arrangements, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Aye.
Or aye.
Okay, we have Severson and Killian opposed. Make note of that. It does pass.
Is Rick still there?
I think we lost him. We've got,
I am still here.
oh, you can hear us now.
I'm in a good reception area.
Clearly, or not clearly. So you heard that if you can reword the language to remove that clause and then go ahead and get signatures and so forth.
Correct. Yep, I can do that and get it over to them and you for signature.
Okay. Was there anything in closed session that we needed Rick for? I think we're going to, oh, yes, there is one related to the Farm Service Agency. So if you could stay on the line for a little while, Rick?
Or do you just move the agenda?
Or we'll call you back. Oh,
I got a few minutes. I'm just pulling into the church where the funeral is.
okay. Oh dear, you're going to a funeral.
Unless you want to
can
put that
we-
line item
All
up
right,
on
let's
the agenda.
move that up then. We had it's in your packets. There was a letter from the Farm Service Agency Director that was addressed to John and copied to me. Unfortunately, it turned up in my mailbox at the day of the last meeting with the assumption that I would pick it up and that I would discuss it, and I was not here at all that week, and it was a week and a half before I got the letter, and it's clearly related to a decision that he, actually, I'm not sure if it was the committee or if it was Mr. Meyer who made this decision, and I'll just go ahead and read it. Addressed to the Trempealeau County Board Chair. Effective immediately, the Trempealeau County Farm Service Agency County Office Committee is rescinding its current representative, Carol Bowick, to the Trempealeau County and Environment Land Use Committee, if you were wondering why it is Carol hasn't been here for the last 2 meetings. Members of the FSA county committees, there's much of this which is confusing to me, including, and this is the first part that's confusing, members of the FSA county committees, FSA employees, which local county boards appoint to their LCC equivalent per Wisconsin Statute 92, are not there representing FSA or the USDA. Instead, they are appointed to the LCC by the local county boards per Wisconsin Statute 92. FSA has received several complaints regarding FSA's perceived participation in the Trempealeau Environment and Land Use Committee. No details. The ongoing appearance of a conflict of interest is having a negative impact on the FSA operations, parenthetically my comment, no details. When requested, an employee of the Trempealeau County FSA office will be available to attend Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee board meetings to advise the board on current FSA programs. This individual would share information about FSA programs available to the public. Once this individual has shared the appropriate information, they will be instructed to exit the meeting. And the CED, Aaron Meyer, has his contact information. I've asked Rick to help clarify exactly what the statute says related to FSA representative or FSA representation on the LCC meetings. Rick, did you have something on that?
By statute, there is a requirement of an FSA representative for items that fall under, I think it's Chapter 92, if I remember correctly. So it is a statutory requirement. So I do believe that the committee does need to have a representative appointed to the committee for those types of matters by statute.
So is it a member of the FSA committee? Because you guys know this better than I do. The FSA is a 3-member committee elected from producers. I get a ballot every year or every 2 years or something like that from around the county. So is it from the FSA elected committee or from the employees of, I'm not sure what he means by FSA employees.
I believe there's like a president or a person who's over it. It's that person or their designee.
Okay. Kellen, can you shed any light on this?
Not a great deal. I know that the committee currently I believe, I shouldn't say no, I believe the committee currently consists of Brian Brannigan, which I believe has served with in this committee in the past, and Shane Goplin from Osseo, and then Carol, I believe, is the third. As to what has made it happen, I don't know. I don't know any more than anyone else does with regard to that, but I know that's who sits on the committee, and they advise I guess, Aaron and the county.
So, if, Rick, I guess what I would, and hopefully we can have a discussion with you in person, I would hope that we could respond to this letter by pointing out that there is a requirement for issues related to Chapter 92 and FSA and how that affects the Farm Service Agency. I'm getting the acronym right, I hope. At a minimum, and that representative comes from the elected committee, not from any employees. Perhaps, if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to sit down with Rick and draft that response.
Yeah, I can put together a draft, George, and then we can meet and go over it.
Okay.
Maybe it'd be worthwhile to meet with that committee, even if it's just you as chair.
Yeah, there is on the agenda.
And talk to the three of them.
Talk to the
Okay.
three of them and see what their reasoning was, or maybe there's misunderstanding.
Right.
Yeah,
Have
And
Mrs. Meyer in there too also.
absolutely, yep.
okay.
I
Well,
think
let's,
that might be a good way to approach it.
okay, thank you for that. I'll get a letter from Rick, we'll send it officially, but then I'll also request to be put on the, how often did they meet?
Good question.
Okay, I'll give a call out there and see if I can't get on the
I
agenda.
think they're monthly also, I believe.
Sounds likely.
Okay. Well, actually, I could talk to Carol because she's on the committee. Okay, thank you.
I've had a concern that we have not had that representative, not just in the last 6 months, but previously at this
Yeah,
table.
Aaron
Yeah.
and Brian were absent more than they were present, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, how can we keep the communication going if we don't have the representative here that we are statutorily supposed to have? Now, if there's some problem with the current representative, maybe we can suggest doing a rotation, that Brian comes 1 month and
Shane.
Shane comes, and then Carol, and they do a rotation, because I also personally do not see why this committee is giving the FSA office, where it says here, a negative, a conflict of interest is having a negative impact on the FSA operations. I personally don't see where that is coming from, but I have felt for a couple of years, we need to have that representative coming to our meetings.
All right.
My 2 cents.
Thank you. I will, Rick, if you'll draft that letter and we'll go over it, and then I'll talk to Carol about when the next meeting is and try to get on the agenda, okay?
Randy had something.
Sounds good.
Oh, Randy has one more thing.
It was just, I was going to say, you know, as far as the quorum number, one time we had to call Brian on the phone because, you know, there weren't enough people in
That's true.
attendance.
That's true.
So just for the sake of a quorum, you know, the numbers are, you know, pretty vital.
Okay, thank you. All right, Rick, and thank you for taking time.
No problem. Have a good day, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye. Going to a
Do we
funeral.
have to hang up, or him hanging up?
Yeah, or we're going to hear that all the time. So I asked Verge to put this next item on the agenda because it had been over a year ago. It came up and then it just dropped. So it happened that I was talking with someone from the town of Ettrick who wanted to know about how they replace a sign. And there was a push over the years of getting 911 signs out and then changing them from red to blue and then changing them from, you know, parallel to the road to perpendicular to the road. And now things have quieted down. We're sort of not in the news, so folks don't know what to do. And we really haven't made a decision about how we replace the signs, who's responsible, that sort of thing. So Verge, you probably remember more about this conversation than I do, so what happens, or Mark, you're the guy, Mark's the guy.
I guess I don't know where this came from. I mean, I've heard a little bit about it, but I guess I haven't personally gotten many calls about people that want, and if they want a sign replaced, they just apply for it and get their sign replaced. I mean, I don't know if we want to go township-wide or county-wide effort to replace everybody's sign. I mean, I guess
So
we certainly can, but I guess usually it's been up to the landowner. If they want a new sign, they pay for the new sign and we put it up, or if the town people plow it over when they're plowing snow, you know, sometimes the town will pay for a new sign. But I guess, I mean, maybe they're getting contacted more at the town level about the necessity to have a county-wide replacement, but I guess, you know, that's up to, and then who's gonna pay for it if we decide to, and maybe they don't want their sign replaced.
Well,
So-
with the town of Unity, we brought this up 2 months because there was a couple signs getting really faded that were facing the south. And the landowner didn't want to really replace it. They said, well, we didn't install it or we didn't ask for it. So so that's why we kind of tabled this. And Verge brought it up last month on, you know, what any interest or questions or whatever. And Beth wanted it to the Towns Association, I think, in October or whatever, too, to see what the consensus was amongst everybody. I don't know for sure.
I mean, I don't know why they'd buck it. I mean, everybody else is getting charged to replace their signs. And if someone puts in a new house, they get charged for a new sign, and they're never asked if they want it or not, And as far as faded, there might be something in our ordinance or state statute that your sign must be clearly visible, some way.
I knew that there was a concern at the town level, which is why I kind of started the conversation. But I was also confused because I'm losing my memory as to what the process was for sign replacement. If it's plowed over by the township, it makes sense the township replaces it. If something happens with the property owner, in other words, the county pays for the first sign, and any other sign after that, at this point, is paid for by...
No,
You pay for the sign.
the individuals pay for their own signs initially.
Uh-huh.
And unless
Why?
there's a damage to it that the
Again.
government
Sorry.
entity destroyed it, they would replace it. But no, everybody pays for their own sign initially.
Oh, they do?
We don't give them their sign.
Okay, so that's part of the permit, the
Correct,
permitting,
yeah.
the driveway and everything, okay. Should we possibly instruct the director of the Department of Land Management to attend the October Towns Association meeting and carry on the discussion related to how we go forward with signs, because they are wearing out, and not all of them are flag style.
No, there's a lot of them aren't, and there's even some red and white ones out there yet that get replaced, so.
Most, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. The red and white ones were replaced free of charge. With
There,
blue ones.
that's what I recall. There was
Yep.
Okay, I
So-
didn't know that.
Yep.
So and I believe someone in this department was responsible for sort of driving around and making note of it. At some point, we were actually
I
putting,
think the townships took pretty much care of that.
okay, that was the township.
Patrolman's reported to, and then. brought them in.
Patrolman went around and put up the new signs.
Yep, patrol, yep, I know Dwayne has done that, yes.
Okay, so, responsibility for knowing where the site, and this is, I mean, it's all anecdotal, but there are people who just move the signs, and since the signs are originally placed on a GPS point, and many of the emergency services people have that in their computer now, including law enforcement, it becomes difficult and questionable as to, like, well, who is at the end of this driveway? That sort of thing. So, someone's going to go to the October meeting, and the Towns Association will knock that out and come back with some recommendations. We may be asked to foot a bill at some point, but I think we can handle it.
I'm sure Tony will be there, and I usually try and attend, but
Okay.
whoever the director is, that might be, and I'll contact.
Well, I can have Dan Little or let Randy put it on the agenda or whatever.
Okay,
for
you'll
them,
do
Because I
that?
already talked to Randy last
George,
about it.
sorry, would that be considered infrastructure?
Ooh, infrastructure.
I mean, would it?
It certainly
be
is.
A different type of infrastructure?
Well,
Because
no.
wasn't some of that
It's all
COVID
emergency
money
stuff, yeah.
for
maybe.
infrastructure?
Yeah.
Have a function there.
Go for it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Well, I mean, that would be a way
Becky,
to,
you're
I mean, we wouldn't want to do it all in one year, but that would be a way to get everyone replaced.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work.
Well, upgraded as well, yeah.
Right, but I just,
And
I just
updated.
think that those two-sided signs are so important. Like,
Yeah.
I talked with a number of people, you're going 60, 55 miles an hour or 60 down a state highway, with an emergency vehicle trying to look for a number, and you can't see it till you're right on top of it. I think that's important. I know it's a lot of work, but I also think that, Ann from Land Records should be in the discussion, and
Oh,
also maybe
absolutely.
emergency management, because Ann actually issues the 911 numbers and puts them on the mapping, And obviously, 911 and emergency management have a voice, so that's what kind of we talked about last month too, was
Right.
that they should be in the discussion also. And then, of
Agreed.
course, where the funding comes from, but I thought, well, we're getting all this supposed money, so maybe it could be used toward that project.
Yeah, Vicki?
I don't know if we can include etiquette with the signs. I've noticed that with the new signs, I'm seeing people actually turning them the wrong way. So they're no longer flag style, they're taking their flag sign and they're putting them, so when you look at their property, you can see the number, but anybody driving the road can't see the number. I've seen this 4 or 5 times now, and I'm like, what is going on? So I don't know if this could be like in a note somewhere so people know, don't turn your signs, leave them flag style.
Well, we could put in notification with your property tax. That's what we do. Any notices for any information can go in that way. If that's would help.
If people read it.
I read it.
Yeah.
Well, there is a uniform numbering ordinance, and that's how the signs are put up, and they're not supposed to be moving them,
It's in the
because they're
ordinance
put up
already.
according to an ordinance.
Would that be a citation then?
All right.
Give somebody a
I already
Just hand
asked, I'm
it
the
to
one that has
them.
to put these stupid things up, too.
They're not stupid. Stop it.
I mean, somewhere along the line, that needs to change too, where, I mean, there's some counties that don't do all that for them, you know, some of them just give them the sign in the post that say, put your sign up and this is where it needs to go, you know. We're actually going around and putting them all up, and now we're proposing changing everybody's, I mean, that's gonna be.
Well, no,
No.
we're proposing
Please.
continuing the discussion about where and when and who and why and how and all of that. So
Yeah.
it's not everything all at once, but it's been a while, and there are issues not only because of the age of the signs, but the speed of development within the county, and new people who don't remember when there weren't even road signs up. I remember that. So, yeah.
Yeah, when they originally put them up, the healthcare center, Carl Anderson was in charge, and he had about 4 helpers from the healthcare center, and they went around township to township and put them up.
Kurt, I'm glad you brought that up, because yesterday Jerry Dietz was at the PTED meeting, and he said, we were talking about different projects, and Becky can help me here, because she was there. He said he does have, I don't know, you call it patients or.
Clients or.
Clients, thank you, that are kind of looking for jobs to do. So he is willing to be tapped into for hiring.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we've covered a lot of elements of this issue. Cost share payment requests, do we have any?
Yes, on the back of your agenda.
Which agenda is it?
The one in the packet.
The one in the packet. Okay, here we go. Oh, there they are. So what do we got?
First one is Rob Herman, stream bank protection and shoreline, $60,909.54. It's actually a little bit cheaper than what we originally funded at, so not by much, but still came in a few dollars cheaper.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my thing was not on. And then the other one is Jeff Close. Please note that it says manure storage system. That is not correct. This is also a stream bank protection. I forgot to change that line in there, so I got to correct it on my sheet. But it's a smaller project, $4,934.43. That is what the state cost share amounts would be and what we would get reimbursed for.
Killian will make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
So's move.
All right, by Wallach. Any discussion, questions? All in favor of approving these targeted runoff management grants, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it is approved. If land conservation is leaving, thank you for your presence. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
The next meeting date is September 1st. That is the first Wednesday in September, okay, nowhere near Labor Day, so we're good with that.
Summer going.
Okay, now we, look, our HR director is present. So,
Kellen's got a question.
yes.
I had questions, not on the agenda, but wondered if Mark could update us anything on Vasquez.
You know, that,
Use permit from last month.
I was wondering why that wasn't on the agenda, yeah.
Well, I've talked to the township, you know, they weren't entirely thrilled in having to bring it back to them, I guess, but they discussed it at a meeting. I was told that a few of the neighbors came and voiced their opinion to the town. And they are gonna bring it back if necessary in their, either September meeting to actually address it if necessary. Ben has told me that he has talked with his neighbors and trying to work out some type of compromise, but that's all I know. I don't know. And none of the neighbors have called me saying he is doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. I've been out there a few times. I put up a sign for him last week, nothing going on there. And then I went out there yesterday for a zoning permit on the end of that road, nothing going on out there. None of the neighbors have called and said, and I'm assuming they would be pretty vocal if he was doing something. So right now, it's kind of at a, you know, at a standstill with him, you know, to reach out to his neighbors, and then there's some rumors that he possibly would be looking at other avenues if this doesn't work out. So that's pretty much all I really know about
Very
it.
good,
So,
thanks for the update.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for reminding us.
yeah,
And-
good idea to bring it up.
And I happened to stop at the town hall a couple days ago and talked with one of the supervisors, and he said that some of the Sabota family were at the last meeting. It wasn't on the agenda, but I think they did it during the public comment period. And they did watch our meeting, so the town board, you know, saw what transpired. And the supervisor said it isn't on the agenda yet, but he thought also that maybe Vasquez was looking for different land. But he didn't, you know that for sure. But I was there on Sunday because we were going to Daryl's Body Shop, and it was totally quiet. But that was Sunday afternoon at 2:30 or something.
A Sunday afternoon drive.
To Daryl's Body
To
Shop.
Daryl's Body
Which
Shop.
is the next house over.
Okay, that sounds exciting.
George?
Yes.
I don't know how many of you got your email yesterday, but I had, and this is in regard to GEC, so it's kind of on the agenda item. But they had asked me about sending out enforcement letters, whether it should be on their letterhead or our letterhead, or how we want to handle that. So maybe it's something we should have talked to Rick about.
I, off the top of my head, I would say our letterhead. We're only contracting with them to provide a service of inspections. We still have all the other responsibilities.
So then you want our county letterhead, but they to sign on our letterhead?
Why don't you talk to Rick about those details? I mean, that, I was just
Okay.
saying off the top of my head in terms of keeping our
Okay.
hand in this.
Okay.
I did read it and respond, you know, if they're going to, my feeling is if they're going to be contacting us, the client or the landowner, about any questions, or the builder, then it should be on our letterhead. But if they're going to be contacting GEC, then it should be on their letterhead. It depends on who gets the violation letter, who are they supposed to respond to?
Well, since not everybody saw I'll read one of them. It says, you know, "Dear so-and-so, we are currently updating our building inspection files with the Trempealeau County Department of Land Management, and notice that the permit that was taken out for the above referenced address and permit is still active. Therefore, we'd like to know the status of this project as it has not been closed with the department. Please contact Trempealeau County Department of Land Management, you know, at this number, or myself with General Engineering at this number in regards to this matter. Thank you in advance." And then they signed a General Engineering and their inspector. So do you want that on our letterhead or their letterhead? And then the other one has been, "It has come to my attention that you have started to construct an addition to a dwelling at this above referenced address. Projects of this type within the county of Trempealeau and its covered municipalities require a building permit and possibly a land use permit from Trempealeau County. Find and close the building permit application. Please fill in the application, return it along with a plan, copy of the land use permit, and description of the project to Department of Land Management. And then it says, I will review the application, other items, and then determine if the building permit can be issued. Please contact the Department of Land Management or myself with General Engineering with any questions you may have regarding the permit process. So it's those types of letters.
Boy, it's, Department of Land Management's all over that.
Right. That's why I was thinking, if they're responding to the Department of Land Management, maybe the GEC person could say, you know,
Copy me.
yeah, copy me, or, you know, contact me if you have any questions as the contractor of land management, you know, so that people aren't confused. You're supposed to respond to Trempealeau County, but yet you're calling the contracted company.
Yeah, if they can identify themselves as the contractor responsible for this, that would be. But I think our letterhead makes the most sense.
And they
Well,
really should be contacting.
But they're a
Here.
contracted person.
Right,
Yes.
so
They're
we
not
should
an
be.
employee
Right.
of Trumbull County.
Right. So maybe, my feeling is everything is done through Trempealeau County's office, and then this is gonna put more work probably on Verge, then you would have to contact, what's his name, in GEC, you know, and
Which is
say.
what you do already.
Well, he can write the letters and so forth. It'd just be a matter of printing them on county letterhead, but I guess, I think this is where Rick would come in as a question, because since they are contracted, do we want them using our letterhead?
We're communicated about that. It isn't like they're just sending it off without telling you, right?
Well, I mean, they would give me a copy probably, so that if they come to the counter or call, I have that information.
Work with Rick on it.
Okay,
I think we're hearing use our letterhead,
okay.
because we are the ones providing the service. It just happens we're doing it through a private entity.
Maybe Krista has some input.
No. She's got lots of other things.
Well, I just thought maybe because you contracted people.
So, we're going into closed session. Krista has a decision for us to make and some information to share with us.
So Killian will make a motion to convene into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Who's
Killian-
second? Chuck?
Chuck. I'm hoping that the committee will allow Mark to stick around as the acting department head for this. Is that appropriate? It's not appropriate? Okay, maybe Mark shouldn't be, that's right. Mark shouldn't be here, okay. Severson.
Yes.
Wallach.
Yes.
Skoyan.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Killian, yes. Brandt, yes. Okay, we are in closed session. We'll ask staff to leave and close the doors, and
10:52.
and we're going to, 10:52, we're going to take a short break so
Yes.
the TV studio can shut us down.